Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. It is the opening session after Holy Eid al-Adha vacation. Eid Mubarak, my dear students. Today, we are going to discuss one of the chapters of economics part of your Bangladesh and Global Studies book, Chapter 12. Yes, the title of the chapter is The Economic Indicators and the Nature of the Economy of Bangladesh. I'll be here with you, your BGS teacher, Nurun Nahar, lecturer, Department of Economics, Milestone College. Let's see the learning outcome of today's session. After the session, you will be able to explain the economic indicators such as GNP, GDP, the concept of gross national product, GNP, gross domestic product, GDP, and gross national income, GNI. You will be able to find out the difference between GNP and GDP, also GNP and GNI. The measurement methods of gross national product will be explained over here. Let's start the class. What is economic indicators? My dear students, the indicators that indicate the economic condition of a country, such as gross national product, gross domestic product, per capita income, etc., is called the economic indicators. So these three things are regarded as the economic indicators. The first one is GNP. My dear students, you can see some words are bold. We will give priority on explanation of that terms, such as the monetary value. Monetary value means the financial value of any commodities. Material or immaterial goods and services. Material and immaterial goods and services means some goods we can see and we can use, we can visualize, but there are some services we cannot see, but we can take help or service, such as hospital, banks, school, colleges, etc. Those are immaterial goods. Labor and capital, these two are two factors of production. Natural resources or land also one of the factors of production. Let's see the definition. The monetary value of the amount of material and immaterial goods and services produced in a particular period of time or in 1 year by investing labor and capital of a country on the natural resources or land of that country is called gross national product or GNP. That is, every country used to produce some goods and services. Those were defined as material and immaterial goods and services. When we calculate GNP, we usually calculate it for 1 year. That's why 1 year is written. Labor and capital, most of the time we know that we are using 4 factors of production for producing any material or immaterial goods and services. Among them, land, labor, capital, and organization are known. Labor and capital are the second and third factors of production, which is used on the natural resources or land or mineral resources of that country for producing something, that is material or immaterial goods and services. When we will term them their financial value or monetary value, then it will be called gross national product. My dear students, you must know GNP is always calculated by the term of financial value. GNP takes only the production of the citizens of that country into account. Wherever those citizens reside, in home or abroad, in this case, the issue of nationality or citizenship is important. That is, citizen may live inside our country or abroad. Wherever the citizen residing, both of their income will be calculated in case of GNP. Now let's see the formula of calculating GNP. GNP is equal to GDP plus X minus M. Here GNP stands for Gross National Product, GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product. X stands for the income of the citizens who are residing abroad, and M means the income of the foreigners, those who are residing inside that certain country. Our second economic indicator is the Gross Domestic Product. In short, it can be called GDP. Gross Domestic Product or GDP is the summation of the financial values of the goods and services produced at the final phase in a specific period of time, generally in 1 year, by all the people residing inside any country or within its geographical boundary. That means, inside the geographical boundary of a country, some people are living. Whoever they are, the citizens or the foreigners, if they are engaged in the production activities, their produced goods and services will be considered in the GDP. So in case of GDP, the value of the goods and services produced at the final phase by all the citizens and foreigners, organizations and institutions within the geographical boundary will be included. My dear students, I think you have observed geographical boundary is the most important thing in case of calculating GDP. The formula for calculating GDP is equal to GNP minus X minus M. In that case, we can also write GDP equals to GNP. Here, GNP means Gross National Product, GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product, X stands for the income of the citizens residing abroad, and M stands for the income of the foreigners residing inside the country. In this case, in case of GDP, the term of X and M will be same. That is, the value of X and M will be same. So when we will deduct M from X, then the value will be 0. In that case, GDP and GNP will be equal in case of GDP. Another concept, that is Gross National Income, GNI. Let's see what is GNI. Actually, Gross National Income, GNI, of any country in a year is the summation of the total of the revenue, the wage or salary, the interest and the profit earned by the factors of production in that year. My dear students, in our previous chapter in the class, you have seen that there are major factors, are 4 factors of production, such as land, labor, capital and organization. As you know, we give revenue to the owner of the land and salary to the owner of the labor, interest to the owner of the capital and profit to the owner of the organizer. And when we add or sum up all the income of revenue plus wage plus interest and profit, then we can calculate GNI. That's why it is called Gross National Income. In case of gross national income, to continue the production process, some portion is separated. That is, we keep some part of the GNP separated from the financial value as CCA. It means Capital Consumption Allowance, to make up the damages of capital items such as machinery, equipments, etc. As you know, when we produce something by using some machineries, equipments, factory buildings, furnitures, etc., then after a few years of the production, you will see that there are some damages are occurred. To fulfill the damages, to repair them, the owner of the institution has to spend some amount of money. That amount of money is known as CCA, or Capital Consumption Allowance. When we calculate GNI, we have to keep CCA part separated from the GNP. In that case, we can also write the formula of GNI is equal to GNP minus CCA. Here, the formula for calculating GNI equal to summation R plus summation W plus summation I plus summation pi. Summation R for total revenue, summation W for total wage, summation I for total interest, and summation pi is for total profit. That is, when we used to calculate GNI, we have to add or sum up the total amount of revenue, total amount of wage, total amount of interest, and the total amount of profit all together. Then we can get the part of GNI. But you must understand the CCA, or Capital Consumption Allowance, will always be separated or deducted from the GNI. So, from the concepts, my dear students, we can easily get the difference between two indicators such as GNP and GDP. Let's see the differences. In case of GNP, citizens' income will be calculated, especially those who are living inside and outside the country. Citizen is most important over here. In case of GDP, we have to calculate the total income of the citizens and foreigners, whoever is living inside the geographical boundary of the country. And both of the indicators should be calculated only for 1 year. The income of the foreigners is not calculated in GNP, but the income of the foreigners is calculated in GDP. The income of the citizens, those who are living abroad, is calculated in GNP, but their income is not calculated in case of GDP. GNP is a greater concept, but GDP is a smaller concept. GNP is economically less significant, but GDP is economically more significant. Because, when we calculate the economic condition of all over the country, we always have to calculate the GDP rather than GNP. GNP reflects the economic condition of the people of a country, but GDP reflects the overall economic power of the country. As GDP always determines whether the country is developed or underdeveloped or developing country. Last point for showing the difference is the formula of both of them. The formula of GNP is GNP equal to GDP plus X minus M. That is the term which will be the positive term after deducting the income of the citizens from the income of the foreigners will be calculated in case of GNP, but in case of GDP it will be excluded. Let's see another difference between GNP and GNI. In some cases, GNP and GNI, these two terms are used as same, but the calculation will never be the same. From the difference, we can easily get this. The financial value of the produced goods and services by the citizens living inside and outside of the country is called GNP. That is, GNP is calculated from the earning of the citizens living inside or outside of the country. But in case of GNI, it will be the summation of the 4 factors of the production, that is land, labor, capital, organization, that is their income, total amount of revenue, wage or salary, interest and profit is called GNI. GNP is dependent on the total produced final goods and services, but GNI is dependent on the income of the factors of production. The expenses to make up the damages of capital items such as machinery, equipments, factory building, etc. are calculated in GNP, but it is not calculated in GNI. Let's see another difference regarding the formula of GNP and GNI. As you can see, the formula of GNP is depending on the product, gross domestic product plus X minus M. That is, GNP is dependent on the total amount of the produced goods and services, but GNI is dependent on the total income of the four factors of production. Okay, my dear students, so we have seen two indicators today, GNP and GDP. GNP is, there are some methods for calculating GNP. Three methods are indicated in the diagram. As you can see, the production method, the income method, and the expenditure method. According to your textbook, the production method is called taking the produced goods and services into account. That is, in this method, the amount of the total produced final goods and services is to be multiplied with their market price to calculate GNP. That is, the amount will be multiplied with the market price. Then we will get the total amount of GNP. In this case, only the amount of final goods have to be calculated. As you know, goods can be classified into three types: primary goods, secondary goods, and final goods. When we will calculate GNP according to the production method, we cannot calculate the primary goods and secondary goods. We have to calculate the final goods only. If any commodity is counted at each phase of production, then the calculation of GNP will be wrong or double counting mistake. Let's see a diagram. Here in the example, as you can see, the first primary good for production of shirt is cotton. From cotton we get yarn, so yarn is the secondary goods. From yarn we get fabric. Fabric is also one of the secondary goods. So from fabric we get shirt. So which one is the final goods? Yes, of course, shirt is the final goods. So when we will calculate GNP, we cannot calculate all the phases of production, such as at first the price of the cotton, second time the price of the yarn, third time the price of the fabric, and fourth time the price of the shirt. If we calculate all these produced goods and commodities 4 times, then there will be problems. That's why we have to calculate the price of the shirt only, not the cotton or yarn or the fabric. I think you have understood. The second method of calculating GNP is the income method. According to your book, it is taking the income of the factors of production into account. My dear students, let's see the diagram. As you can see, there are major 4 factors of production. Land. Land means the cultivable lands, the minerals, the rivers, the waters, and the natural resources. Labor. Labor means the suppliers or the person who physically and mentally work for in exchange of money or wage. Capital. Capital means money, different types of machineries, equipments, raw materials, factory buildings, etc. An organization is the part of organizer, the person or a group of people, those who are arranging the rest of the factors of production for taking the decision of producing something. The income of these 4 factors of production are rent, wage, interest, and profit. Let's see. We give rent to the owner of the land, wage to the owner of the labor, interest to the owner of the capital, and profit to the owner of the organization. The third measurement method of GNP is the expenditure method. According to your book, it is taking the total expenditure of the country into account. Let's see. In this method, GNP can be calculated on the basis of the total expenditure of the country. The total income of the country is spent in two ways. Number one, to buy utility goods and services, which is termed as capital C. And number two, to invest, which is termed as capital I. That is C and I. These two are the main two ways where people used to spend their money. And the spenders can be classified into three, such as the government, various organizations, the people. So in this method, GNP is calculated by the summation of the total expenditure of the government, various organizations, and the people of a country in a year. My dear students, here is a classwork for you. Sorry, I have written homework, but it will be classwork. After the class, you will solve it and submit it to your group. Let's see. The value of total goods and services produced inside any country in the financial year 2018-19 is 83,000 crore, out of which the value of total goods and services produced by the foreigners in that country is 7,000 crore. The financial value of total production of the citizens of that country residing abroad is in the same year is 12,000 crore. Now, you will determine the gross national product and gross domestic product of that country. My dear students, in the concepts of GNP and GDP, I think you have seen two formulas, and by using those two formulas, you will find out the value of GNP and GDP by using the values given in the STEM. I think you will be able to solve them. So best of luck. Thank you for watching the class. Thank you very much.